North Korea's dramatic testing of a sixth nuclear device has once again raised fears of rising tensions in Northeast Asia and the prospect of war breaking out on the Korean peninsula. The size of the latest test, equivalent to a 6.3 magnitude earthquake, suggests a step change in the destructive power of the North's nuclear assets. It was 5 to 6 times larger than its last test in September 2016. And potentially 7 times as large as the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. But it is too early to assess Pyongyang's boast to have successfully tested a hydrogen bomb. The North has made similar uncorroborated claims in the past, but irrespective of the precise nature of the explosion, there seems little doubt that the destructive capacity of Pyongyang's nuclear arsenal has increased substantially. Why does North Korea want nuclear weapons? The North's motives for testing remain unchanged. Pyongyang's desire to acquire nuclear weapons dates from at least the 1960s, and is rooted in a desire for political autonomy, national prestige and military strength. Added to this is Kim Jong-un's desire to secure an unambiguous deterrent to safeguard against a potential U.S. preemptive attack, a key element in explaining not only Kim's sharply accelerated missile testing program, but also the latest photo boast apparently showing him inspecting a new entirely homemade nuclear warhead. While analysts are divided on whether the North's progress in developing an intercontinental ballistic missile, following its 2 tests in July, has enabled it to strike the United States with nuclear weapons, in some ways the technical debate is moot. The demonstration effect of repeated missile and nuclear weapons testing makes it extremely unlikely that an American president would contemplate a direct strike on the country, other than in retaliation against a North Korean attack, a move that North Korean officials know would be suicidal. Kim Jong-un's behavior since taking over as the North's leader in December 2011 suggests that he is a rational actor, albeit a particularly egotistical and brutal one given his willingness to execute and purge both close family members and senior elite North Korean officials. His actions are those of a calculating risk-taker, more so than his father Kim Jong-il, intent on thumbing his nose at President Trump, while also bolstering his legitimacy in the eyes of his own people by realizing his goal of military modernization. This objective appears to be widely popular with many North Koreans, especially those living in Pyongyang. How should the U.S. respond? While the North remains the primary source of regional insecurity, an additional, and perhaps more worrying element of instability is the temperament and thinking of Donald Trump. The U.S. president continues very conspicuously to hint at the possibility of preemptive U.S. military action against the North, a course of action that would have catastrophic consequences for the citizens of Japan, South Korea and especially the 10 million or so residents of Seoul directly in range of the North's conventional and nuclear forces. Ultimately, a U.S. military response to the North Korean challenge would, therefore, represent a doomsday scenario for America's 2 key regional allies as well as jeopardizing the lives of the 28,500 U.S. servicemen and personnel based in South Korea. It is, therefore, easy to understand why both U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis and National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster are reportedly firmly opposed to the military option except as a last defensive resort. President Trump's bellicose saber-rattling may be a negotiating ploy, intended to alarm Pyongyang sufficiently to deter it from further provocations, or to encourage an increasingly irritated Chinese leadership to impose decisive and punitive economic pressure on the North, most immediately through a suspension of critical crude oil supplies. Yet if this is the intention, it does not appear to be working. The North has since April been stockpiling supplies of oil to guard against any new sanctions, and the Chinese leadership, while reportedly increasingly irritated by the North, may therefore have concluded that restricting oil as either a symbolic or actual economic weapon may have limited immediate impact. Assuming the president is neither irrational nor willfully impulsive, nor willing to sacrifice Seoul for the interests of Washington, then the most likely response to the current crisis will be for the administration to push for much tougher sanctions against the North. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is currently drawing up a new proposal to punish any third countries doing business with the North by cutting off their access to the U.S. market. While this would certainly be a dramatic and arguably proportionate response to the new North Korean provocation, it runs the risk of being both ineffective and counterproductive. Unilateral U.S. sanctions would be hard,